Welcome to World Pulse 360. I'm your host, reporting from our Global News Center. Today, we are bringing you a special extended edition. We are dedicating this entire segment to a deep dive analysis of three major shifts that are currently reshaping the geopolitical and environmental landscape of our planet. From the profound uncertainty in the Middle East following the passing of Iran's supreme leader, to the record-shattering heat waves pushing modern cities to their breaking point. And we will provide an exhaustive report on the escalating tensions in Europe as NATO and Russia enter a period of confrontation not seen since the height of the Cold War. This is a time of transition, a time of crisis, and a time of high-stakes diplomacy. We're going beyond the headlines to find the pulses of our changing world. Our mission is to connect the dots between these events, understanding how a leadership vacuum in Tehran affects stability thousands of miles away in Europe. We have extensive footage from the ground and analysis from leading experts. It's an in-depth report you won't want to miss. Let's begin our journey in the Middle East. A week of mourning has just concluded in Tehran, but for the Islamic Republic, the questions about its future are only just beginning to surface. The death of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has created a massive void in the heart of one of the world's most influential and controversial regimes. The scale of the funeral ceremonies is staggering. Millions have taken to the streets of the capital, creating a sea of black-clad mourners that stretches as far as the eye can see. The atmosphere is one of intense collective grief. For many Iranians, Khamenei was the only leader they had ever known, having ruled for more than 3 decades. Authorities declared 6 days of national mourning, a period intended to allow the nation to process its loss while simultaneously projecting an image of stability and continuity. The funeral is being presented to the world as a show of national unity. Every image, every chant is carefully orchestrated to show a country united behind its revolutionary ideals. However, beneath the surface of this display, the message remains defiantly political. Chants of death to America and death to Israel continue to echo through the crowds. Reporting suggests that anyone willing to speak on camera echoes the regime's message. The enmity with the West, they say, has only just begun in this new era. Senior international correspondent Nawal Al-Makhafi reports from the center of Tehran, describing the scene as an extraordinary moment to witness firsthand. She notes the presence of coffins for the leader and members of his family killed in the recent strikes, adding a layer of personal tragedy to the national event. The regime is using this moment to tell the world that it remains firmly in power. This choreographed show of unity is a display of strength for a regime in conflict. Voices from the street express deep regret and a sense of loss. Many feel they should have discovered their leader's wisdom much earlier, showing the deep emotional connection for some. The transition of power is now the central question. Who will succeed Khamenei, and how will they navigate the internal and external pressures facing the Islamic Republic? The passing of Ali Khamenei is a tectonic shift for the Middle East. It removes a pillar of stability for the regime, but opens the door to potential internal strife. We must consider how this will impact Iran's proxies across the region, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to the Houthis in Yemen. His influence was the glue holding them together. Will the next leader seek a path of de-escalation with the West, or will they double down on the revolutionary path? The regional security dynamic depends on it. The internal politics of the Iranian regime are notoriously opaque. Factions within the Revolutionary Guard and the clerical establishment are already positioning themselves. For the Iranian people, many of whom are young and increasingly disconnected from the 1979 revolution, this transition could be a moment of hope or further repression. From the political heat in Tehran, we turn to the literal and dangerous heat gripping the United States and Europe this July. It's a climate emergency. A historic heat wave is rewriting the record books, pushing temperatures to heights that are not just uncomfortable, but life-threatening for millions. Millions across the U.S. are enduring dangerous heat and humidity. Temperatures are expected to reach triple digits across this 4th of July weekend, a historic peak. New York City has entered a state of heat emergency. As the mercury climbs toward 100 degrees, the humidity makes the air feel heavy, oppressive, and nearly unbreathable. Residents describe the conditions as ridiculous and stifling. Even those from traditionally warm states are finding the New York heat absolutely unbearable. Reporter Floyd Kush notes that it's difficult to be outdoors, especially in the direct sun. The heat is pervasive, affecting every aspect of daily life in the city. This isn't just any 4th of July, it's America's 250th anniversary. Celebrations planned across the nation are being scaled back or moved indoors for safety. Despite the extreme weather, President Trump has vowed to make a really long speech on July 4th, framing it as a display of personal and national endurance. The heat is also impacting major sporting events. Nada Taufik reports from the World Cup fan zone, where the extreme temperatures are raising questions about planning. With the global heat index exceeding safety thresholds, the use of hydration breaks and cooling stations has become a necessity rather than an option for fans and players. Even celebrity culture is adjusting. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding at Madison Square Garden is expected to be moved indoors to protect guests from the heat dome. Across the Atlantic, Europe is also feeling the burn. Wildfires are raging through France, Spain, and Portugal, with thousands forced to evacuate their homes. Climate experts explain that these heat waves are the result of heat domes, areas of high pressure that trap hot air in place for days, a direct consequence of emissions. Environment correspondent Matt McGrath points out that these events are becoming more frequent and intense, driven by decades of rising global temperatures. The economic and human toll of these extreme weather events is mounting. Our infrastructure, designed for a cooler era, is struggling to cope with this new reality. The transition to renewable energy is no longer just an environmental goal, it is a critical security and survival strategy for cities worldwide. We are seeing a global synchronized heat event. It's not just isolated incidents, it's a systemic shift that requires a unified global response from all nations. As the planet continues to warm, the challenge of adaptation becomes more urgent. We need to rethink how we live, work, and celebrate in a hotter world. Finally, we turn to the escalating geopolitical tensions in Europe. As NATO leaders meet in The Hague, the rhetoric between the West and Russia has hit a fever pitch. The summit comes at a time of unprecedented military buildup and a deepening rift that many fear could lead to an open conflict on the continent. Leaders have gathered to address what they call the Russian threat. Under pressure from the US, members have agreed to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP. Moscow has reacted with sharp criticism. President Putin accuses Western nations of preparing for a major war, using Ukraine as a geopolitical battering ram. The European Union is investing heavily in its own military modernization, aiming to reduce its long-standing dependence on American arms imports. In a significant shift, Finland has lifted its ban on the deployment of nuclear weapons on its territory, a move that has drawn a sharp rebuke from the Kremlin. Lithuania is also considering similar measures, citing the fundamentally changed security status in the region since the start of the conflict in Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warns that any movement of NATO troops toward their borders will be met with retaliatory measures and a firm response. Reporter
In particular,
Yulia
Germany,
Shapovalova
which has
notes
increased
that
its
Moscow
defense
frequently
budget to about
cites Europe's rising defense
$114
expenditures
billion,
as proof of
while
Western
Spain and
preparation
Norway
for a
have
major
increased
war with
defense
Russia.
spending by
The military buildup on both sides of the divide is creating a high-risk environment where miscalculation could have catastrophic consequences for global peace. We are entering a new era of geopolitical competition. The post-Cold War order has been replaced by a more fragmented and dangerous world of competing power blocs. The expansion of NATO and the rearmament of Europe are seen by the West as essential measures, but by Moscow as an existential threat that must be countered. Finding a path to manage this competition without triggering a larger war is the greatest challenge facing global leaders today. The rhetoric is not helping. Today we've covered three major pulses of our world: a leadership crisis in Iran, a climate emergency in the West, and a military standoff in Europe. These stories are deeply interconnected, reflecting a world that is becoming more complex and volatile by the day. Understanding these shifts is crucial. At World Pulse 360, we are committed to providing the in depth reporting and analysis you need to navigate these turbulent times with clarity and insight. Thank you for joining us for this special edition. If you found this report informative, please comment your thoughts, share with your friends, and like this video. Most importantly, subscribe to World Pulse 360 to stay updated on the pulses of our world. We have new reports and deep dives coming your way every week. I'm your host, signing off. Stay safe, stay informed, and we will see you in the next report. This has been World Pulse 360. Goodbye.